Warlords and Cowards. Published by For Honor Wiki, Fandom. I am Apollyon, warlord of the Blackstone Legion. In that year, I sent one of my commanders, Holden Cross, to punish a betrayer. There was a warden there, in the way. There are many wardens. This one would prove unique. Warlords and Cowards is the first chapter in the Knight Story campaign. It also serves as the narrative tutorial on the concepts of the art of battle. Events of. A knight called Urvis Daubeny had deserted the Blackstone Legion, the more militant of many legions of knights occupying the land of Ashfeld. As a consequence, his soldiers and his castle have come under attack. The player character is introduced as a warden, a member of an ancient order dedicated to serving the people, now currently brought to Daubeny's service as a mercenary. The opposition is led by the second in command of the Blackstone Legion, a lawbringer by the name of Holden Cross. The player's first command is to defend the east wall, cutting down many Blackstone captains. They battle their way down to where a handful of Blackstone soldiers are attempting to take the courtyard. Felling the threat, the warden is ambushed by a line of archers from above, and then fights their way up along the opposite wall to reach a downed catapult blocking their path to the archers. Thinking quickly and realizing that the catapult is still ready to fire, the warden cuts the rope and fires the catapult pointed at the enemy, sending the archers tumbling from the rampart. Intrigued, Cross signals to his men to bring in a massive ram-headed battering ram, managing to blow open a hole away from the gate into the yard, sending a battalion of captains and soldiers in, only for the warden to successfully hold them off. Soon, however, the main gate is finally destroyed and Holden Cross enters, cutting down a few men before demanding that Daubeny step forward. Cross tells Daubeny that no more of his warriors need to die and challenges him to trial by combat. Daubeny refuses, labeling a fight with Cross as no trial, just an execution. Holden responds by sending forth his second, a Blackstone-affiliated warden named Adamar, while Daubeny designates the warden as his second. The warden bests Adamar in the trial. Cross spares Daubeny but knights and inducts the warden into the Blackstone Legion. Transcript. The warden, voiceover, that day I learned I was serving the wrong warlord, Urvis Daubeny. Camera cuts to Daubeny rushing out a door, watching as a rock flies over the castle wall and crashes nearby. Daubeny, yelling to the courtyard, defend the walls. Daubeny runs to the edge of the wall and looks into the distance, watching as an army of Blackstone knights marches down the path. The warden, voiceover, the day I met the Blackstone Legion. And Holden Cross. Camera cuts to Cross leading the troops. Cross, come out, Daubeny, it doesn't have to be like this. Several soldiers raise ladders against the castle walls. The camera cuts to Daubeny, who watches an arrow hit the soldier next to him. He quickly checks on the corpse before retreating. Daubeny, to a lawbringer behind him, keep them off the walls. Camera cuts back to Cross and his second, Adamar. Adamar, handing Cross his helmet, my lord. Cross, growls, break it down. Adamar, to the troops, break it down. Camera pans to reveal a battering ram being pushed to the castle gate. Camera then cuts to the warden, who rushes to the castle wall. The warden watches as arrows and rocks fly past, destroying the wall and killing soldiers. Blackstone Knight, in the background, arms at the ready. Fire at will. The warden, voiceover, but I am a warden and I had a job to do. Mission objective, defend the east wall. The warden succeeds in holding the east wall but realizes soldiers are making it over the others and dropping into the courtyard. Mission objective, reach the courtyard. Daubeny's captains take over guarding the wall. Meanwhile, the warden races for the courtyard. Mission objective, hold the door. The courtyard is cleared out but then volleys of arrows rain down upon the men. The camera cuts to the front gate. A soldier falls from the wall to the ground. The camera pans up to reveal archers have taken the wall. Blackstone captain, ready, fire at will. Mission objective, reach the archers. The warden realizes archers had taken the front wall and fights her way to the wall. As she approaches the archers, she realizes the catapult that they had disabled was still ready to fire. The camera follows the warden as she dodges arrows before taking cover behind the downed catapult. She ponders what to do as she is pinned down. It is then she realizes the catapult is aimed at the archers. She cuts the rope, firing the siege weapon and knocking the archers off the walls. The camera cuts to Cross outside, who watched what just happened. He then watches as two rocks strike the side of the castle wall, creating a hole. Cross, charge, through the breach. Camera cuts back to the warden, who watches as Blackstone Legion pour through the breach into the courtyard. Mission objective, hold the castle from the invaders. The warden helps clear out the courtyard but the battering ram finally bashes open the front gate. Camera cuts to the gate, which takes one more hit before it flies open. Cross steps out of the smoke with the Blackstone Legion behind him. Soldiers rush to confront him but he easily dispatches three and knocks away a fourth. Cross, stop. The warden and several other soldiers stop before Cross, still ready to fight. Cross, Daubeny, show yourself. The camera cuts to Daubeny, who walks past his troops to stand in front of Cross. Cross, these warriors don't have to die. Trial by combat, right now. Daubeny, what, fight you? That's not a trial, that's an execution. Cross, walks up to Daubeny, then fight my second. Cross gestures to Adamar, who steps forth. Daubeny, to the warden, you. You will be my second. The warden looks around for a moment before stepping forward. All right then. The warden, voiceover, if I refused there would be a slaughter. Mission objective, kill Holden Cross champion. The warden and Adamar engage in a duel. The warden silently admits she is only doing for the sake of the men and her oath as a knight. Finally, she defeats and kills Adamar. Camera cuts to Cross, who had been watching the fight. The warden, voiceover, we were still at their mercy. Cross walks up to Daubeny, handing his poleaxe to a lieutenant on the way. Cross, it will not do for a knight of the Blackstone Legion to be defeated by a common mercenary. Cross takes Daubeny's sword, though initially resisting, he lets Cross have it. Cross walks up to the warden, kneel. The warden kneels down as Cross takes off his helmet. Cross knights the warden for valor in battle, for honor in service. I, Holden Cross, raise you. Stand, knight of the Blackstone Legion. Cross helps the warden to her feet, handing him her Daubeny's sword. He then tosses Daubeny the warden's old sword. Cross, we're finished here. Cross takes his poleaxe back and begins to leave. Cross, to the warden, come on. The warden looks back at Daubeny before following her new master. The warden, voiceover, that was how I joined the Blackstone Legion. Observables. Irvis Daubeny. The moment you take control of the warden, tilt the camera up. You can see Daubeny atop the tower commanding the troops. Irvis Daubeny, Blackstone, for a single season. And then, he thought to turn away from us. To take from us, that would prove his undoing. The fort. The moment you take control of the warden, look to the left. It should be on the tower. That fort had belonged to 10 warlords in 10 years. Daubeny was just the most recent. He joined the Blackstone Legion and then tried to leave us. That would not stand unpunished. Holden Cross. The moment you take control of the warden, rush to the edge of the castle wall. You can see Holden Cross standing in front of one of the catapults. Holden Cross, my second in command, and my most stalwart ally. Holden is a practical man, of limited ambition, but of endless talent. We are fortunate to have him. Ashfeld. The moment you take control of the warden, go to the edge of the castle wall and look left. You can see a castle tower in the distance. Ashfeld. I was born here, out in the scrublands. 20 years ago, the Iron Legion had been on the verge of losing it to the Vikings entirely. Now, my Blackstone Legion had taken it back. Warfare. Once you complete the tutorial, as you proceed down the stairs the observable should be at the bottom. So much of warfare is about walls, gates, hills, doors. Every day, battles are won and lost on the choice of battlefield alone. Lay of the land. Once you complete the tutorial, turn around and look up. It should be right where you came in. Almost every fortress in these lands was first built a millennium ago. We lay new construction on top of old and call it our own. We are children, playing at Empire. The tapestry. After you face a few enemies, you will come to the base of a spiral staircase. There will be pottery scattered about. Right as you reach the base of the stairs, look left at the tapestry. The fall of the last sanctuary in Ashfeld. 1,000 years have passed since then. Our ancestors held out for 6 years against 100,000 desperate, starving warriors. Or, so the story goes. The Iron Legion. After you face a few enemies, you will come to the base of a spiral staircase. There will be pottery scattered about. Right as you reach the base of the stairs, look right at the 2 lion statues. The Iron Legion is made up of many smaller legions. The lion was the symbol of the Regal Legion. They were strong once. Now, they have fallen to Blackstone might. Oaths of a Warden. Climb up the spiral staircase. You should see Daubeny right as you get to the top. Before going outside, go to the room on the right and look at the coat of arms. The Iron Legion has a habit of mounting warden statues in front of doors. But they are hypocrites. The oaths of a warden reach far beyond what any common legion warrior can live up to. Rules of nature. Climb up the spiral staircase. Once you reach outside and help Daubeny clear out the Blackstone Knights, look to the wall that would be to your right as you exit the building. When we stop fighting against it, nature will always reassert itself. So it is with stone. So it is with plants, with animals. And so it is with people. Media. Images. Article information. More for Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Samsung PAX East Sizzle. And stay out. Published by For Honor Wiki, fandom. That warden proved more than worthy. But there was still much work to be done. The Vikings were about to destroy the last Iron Legion sanctuary in Ashfeld. My Blackstone Legion would save them. And Stay Out is the second chapter in the Night Story campaign. The warden, recently recruited into the Blackstone Legion by Holden Cross, is sent to the Harrogate Sanctuary in Ashfeld to aid the Iron Legion in their defense against a Viking attack. Events of. As the warden steps through the gate, they charge into battle to clear the gate. Once the gate has been cleared, they need to clear the citadel of the Viking horde. The only way to do that was to gain a tactical advantage over the enemy. There were 3 key points around the battlefield. The warden proceeds to capture these points, allowing fresh troops onto the field, supplies to reach the men, and archers to rain fire upon the enemy from a distance. The tides had begun to turn. All that was left was to push the enemy out of the citadel. The warden leads the charge, but as they are about to deliver the final push, a Valkyrie, the leader of these Vikings, emerges and engages the warden. However, they manage to kill their foe and the remaining Vikings retreat. Transcript. The warden, voiceover, there are many legions. The Iron Legion is the greatest among them. But in Ashfeld, the Iron Legion was about to be routed. Their commander, Stone, needed an army. Holden Cross sent me. Camera cuts to Stone, taking cover from arrows behind a wall. He looks outside the castle and sees a horde of Vikings engaging his knights. He looks back in the castle where more troops wait. The warden comes in. Stone, Blackstone, where are our reinforcements? The gate closes shut. The warden, I'm it. Stone, buries his head in his arm, shaking his head, is this a joke? To the gatekeeper, open the gate. To the warden, let us out, Blackstone. Good luck. The warden, voiceover, the battle was already lost. I needed to change that. Mission objective, push back the Vikings at the gate. The warden charges into battle, cutting down the Vikings in their path. Mission objective, capture the citadel. The gate may have been cleared, but there were Vikings flooding onto the battlefield. The only way to win was to gain a tactical advantage. The warden proceeds to capture 3 key points around the battlefield, allowing supplies, archers, and fresh troops to aid the defense. Mission objective, push back the enemy out of the citadel. The warden, voiceover, we were winning. We just needed a final push. Stone arrives on the battlefield to aid his troops. The warden, voiceover, Stone was a conqueror. And one of the best I'd ever seen. With fresh troops and all 3 areas back in the Knights' control, the only thing left was to push the Vikings out. The camera cuts to a fallen tree at the edge of the battlefield, where a Valkyrie climbs up. She watches as the warden continues cutting through the Vikings' forces. Valkyrie, stop. The warden spots the Valkyrie, who comes down and prepares for battle. Valkyrie, egg Clara Ennen. I'll end that one. Mission objective, kill the Viking leader. The warden engages the Valkyrie. After a lengthy duel, the Viking leader falls. Camera cuts to Stone hitting a Viking soldier with his shield. The soldier falls to the ground, dropping his sword and shield. Stone walks around and places his boot on the soldier's hand, brandishing his flail. He swings it and brings it down upon the soldier. The warden slowly walks up beside him. Stone, not bad, Blackstone. Not bad at all. Pretty sure I could have done it by myself, but... The two look at each other, giving each other a firm handshake before turning back to look across the battlefield. Observables. Aftermath of war. As you charge into battle, keep an eye on the flaming carts to the right. Warriors rarely see the people their wars affect. The displaced, the murdered, the starving. I saw all that when I was younger. I never forgot the lesson. The Viking horde. After you take the first zone on the right, as you cross the bridge, look right across the horizon. This year's Viking horde. When Mount Rust erupted, they lost the sun for months. Crops and animals died. They came south, raiding for supplies. They continued to raid Ashfeld yearly. The Centurions. On the battlefield, look right to the patio. It's right under the bird statue. The Iron Legion traces its roots to a much older culture. An ancient empire, led by centurions, believed to be lost in the destruction. They weren't lost. I have met them. Machines of war. On the battlefield, look at the gate. It's right on the battering ram. Machines of war. Many of them use plans that we do not fully understand. Techniques handed down through the generation we have lost the theory for. They work just fine, though. Harrogate. Go to the walkway right above the gate. You'll naturally cross it when capturing the zone on the left. Go outside and look to the wall. The Sanctuary of Harrogate. The last remnants of the Iron Legion had held it until the year that Warden came. After the battle they were too weak to hold it. We Blackstones had to take over. Pity. Article information. More for Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Samsung PAX East Sizzle. The Blackstone Legion. Published by For Honor Wiki, fandom. We had the Vikings on the run. And, in the mopping up efforts, we also claimed the rest of the scattered legions, bringing them under Blackstone rule. The Warden, I think, had reservations about some of our methods. The Blackstone Legion is the 3rd chapter in the Night Story campaign. Having defeated the Viking invaders at Harrogate Sanctuary, the Warden is now called upon to clear out the remaining opposition in Ashfeld, including but not limited to Iron Legion deserters. Events. Having been given directions by Holden Cross, the Warden meets up with Stone and they head out into Ashfeld. Their goal was to take an outpost which had been overrun by Vikings. They raid the outpost and kill the Viking leader. Their next goal was to reach the rogue knights deserters in the forest. Just after leaving the gate of the outpost, the Warden and Stone are attacked by a peacekeeper, not happy about their presence. They soon find the remnants of the Iron Legion in the area, though the deserters are not happy to see Blackstone on their turf. Though the Warden and Stone are able to clear out the deserters, more arrive and corner the two. Suddenly, the deserters come face to face with the leader of the Blackstone Legion, Apollyon. She dispatches several of the deserters with ease while her troops box them in with her. She easily slays her challengers while the rest of the deserters surrender. To the shock of her prisoners, she orders her men to stand down. Two of the deserters take advantage of this opportunity and try to assassinate Apollyon, but they are easily subdued. She proceeds to execute the other prisoners, but for her two attackers she says one thing: "Welcome to the Blackstone Legion." Transcript. The Warden, voiceover: I had questions about the Blackstone Legion. Camera cuts to a cliffside with dead knights hanging from trees. The Warden walks up to Holden Cross on the cliff. Cross, the last of the Vikings are holed up in an outpost ahead. One that the Iron Legion deserted. The Warden begins heading in the direction of the outpost. Cross, need backup? The Warden, I can handle it. Cross, mutters, careful with that ego. Camera cuts to the Warden rounding a crumbling stone wall, where Stone waits. The Warden, ready. Stone, lead the way. The two of them head for the outpost. The Warden, voiceover: deserters. I wanted to see for myself. Mission objective: take the outpost. The Warden, voiceover: Stone was Iron Legion. I trusted him. Stone and the Warden make their way to the outpost. They quickly dispatch a small party of Vikings before arriving at their destination. The camera cuts to Stone and the Warden taking cover behind a rock right outside the outpost. They watch as the Vikings toss the corpses of their enemy over its walls. Stone, doesn't look too hard. The Warden, everywhere we go, we've abandoned our people. What has happened to the Iron Legion? Wait here, I'll clear the bridge. The Warden then jogs off to clear the bridge. Mission objective: guard break the enemy. The Warden dispatches the first Viking at the front gate, causing them to open the doors to let more Vikings out to take on the enemy. Mission objective: kill the commander. The Warden and Stone fight their way through the outpost, finally slaying the warlord that was the Viking commander. Mission objective: reach the rogue knights. The outpost had been cleared out, but now it was time to find the rogue knights. A peacekeeper ambushes the Warden and Stone, exclaiming, "Die, Blackstone dogs," but she is quickly dispatched. They proceed up the path, dispatching another party of rogue knights. They finally reach the encampment. Camera pans over the scenery of the demolished stone church. The Warden, voiceover: they were members of the Iron Legion. All legions shared the same oaths. What had happened here? A guard outside spots the Warden and Stone coming up the path and heads inside. The two Blackstones exchange glances before following him. Cut to inside the ruins, where the deserters stare at the Blackstones suspiciously. They stop in the center to address the onlookers. The Warden, why have you abandoned your posts? Rogue Conqueror, stepping forward, brandishing his flail, a Blackstone dog has strayed from his pack. The Warden, stand down. Your people need you. Rogue Conqueror, what's a Warden doing fighting for Apollyon? Stone begins brandishing his flail. Stone, one of us should go home and change. Stone steps forward, but the Warden stops him. The Warden, angrily, why, have you abandoned your posts? The Rogue Conqueror looks at the other rogue knights, his patience finally running out. Rogue Conqueror, to the other deserters, kill them. Mission objective: defeat the rogue knights. Surrounded and outnumbered, the Warden and Stone take on all the knights around them. They may have been outnumbered, but they were not outmatched as the deserters were defeated. However, victory was short-lived. Camera quickly cuts to the Warden, who turns to face the sound of battle cries. The camera then cuts to the church entrance, where more rogues charge in. The Warden and Stone prepare for battle, but an arrow suddenly hits Stone in the shoulder. He falls back and angrily snaps off the arrow. The Warden, voiceover: that was the day I finally met our warlord. The rogues prepare to attack, but something behind them catches their attention. Apollyon suddenly emerges, impaling one captain and tossing his corpse aside. The other rogues attack her, but she dispatches them one by one, taking out a captain, a warden, and two soldiers. A second warden attempts to attack her from behind, but she whips around and decapitates him. Stunned and horrified by what they just saw, the other rogues begin backing up but are shoved back into the ruins by Blackstone soldiers, who have cut off the escape routes. The two groups collide, with Apollyon taking on a peacekeeper while the Warden faces a conqueror. Though Apollyon manages to decapitate the peacekeeper she faced while receiving a stab to her stomach, the Warden is overwhelmed by the conqueror's flail and is pushed back. Just as the rogue conqueror is about to finish the Warden off, Apollyon comes up from behind and slices his arm off, his limb and weapon flying into the air and falling back to the ground. She then takes his head off and lets the corpse fall to the ground. The Warden, Apollyon. Apollyon pulls the dagger from her stomach and tosses it aside. Apollyon, holding out her hand, got you, Blackstone. She pulls the Warden to her feet and turns around to see more Blackstone reinforcements arriving while the remaining rogues are apprehended. She gives her subordinates a nod and they all proceed to put away their weapons. The prisoners look around in shock. A soldier and a captain take advantage of this and rush at Apollyon with daggers in their hands, but are easily subdued and shoved to the ground. While her men keep her attackers down, she proceeds to address the remaining prisoners. Apollyon, do you know what kind of creature waits for its own slaughter? Turns away and mutters, sheep. Apollyon whips around and decapitates 2 wardens with one swing. The warden, rushing forward, no. Cross quickly holds the warden back with his hand, telling him, her not to interfere. The warden reluctantly stands down and watches as the remaining prisoners are executed. Apollyon then addresses her 2 attackers. Apollyon, welcome to the Blackstone Legion. The warden, voiceover, I had my answers. But, too late, and a warden's oaths are not lightly broken. Observables. Capital punishment. The moment you take control of the warden, look up. It is on a cage hanging from a tree. In the West, punishments like the cage have been outlawed. In Ashfeld, however, we were less reluctant about using brutality to make a point. Obsidian. After you encounter your first group of Vikings, keep an eye out on the right for a lava pool. When lava cools, it can form a marvel, a black glass then be sharper than the sharpest blade. High in the mountains, there is a block of obsidian that has been cut into a round table. It is there that the Blackstone Legion was first formed. Geysers. Right before you cross the bridge into the outpost, there is a geyser on the left. The geyser fields of Ashfeld were where the Iron Legion had officially bent the knee to the Blackstones, and the Royals, and so many others. We chose that place for its history. Legends tell us that it was there that the ancient Viking lords had yielded Ashfeld to our people. Cattle. As you cross the bridge into the outpost, pause and look up at the right tower. Iron Legionnaires are cattle. They fight when it's convenient for them, and run away from any challenge. The Blackstone Legion was my solution to that problem. Viking camp. The moment you enter the outpost, look up. It will be on an archway. When I took over the Blackstone Legion, the Vikings had permanent settlements in Ashfeld. Now those were all gone, and soon we would take the fight to them. Strength. As you leave the outpost, head left. It will be on the angel statue. We 7 leaders of the Blackstone Legion took demon names. It is both as a warning to others, and a reminder to ourselves. We are strong, and we must be sure of what we choose to do with that strength. Tomb. When you leave the outpost and you get attacked a peacekeeper, keep an eye on the left side of the path. It will be on a stone tomb. We all want to be remembered. Warlord. Once you face your first band of rogue knights, keep an eye out on the right for a tomb. Once, there were 15 of us in the Blackstone Circle. 8 times, one of us claimed the title of Warlord. 7 times, that Warlord proved too weak, too noble, or too blind to lead us. I am the 8th. The others rest now in their tombs. Ruined Church. This one will be tough to get. As you approach the encampment to the rogue knights, as you climb the stairs, you can see the observable at the top of the archway. Be careful, as if you get too close the cutscene will start. If that happens, once the fighting begins, take a step outside and collect it. The children of Ashfeld claim to all follow the same God, but I have sat in their services, and listened to their hymns. They do not agree on the laws of their master, and most of them do not follow their own ideals. Media. Images. Article information. More for Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Ultimate Fandom NFL Draft, Tua Tagovailoa as Superman. Valkenheim in Winter. Published by For Honor Wiki, Fandom. It's time to show the Vikings who they really are. We would strike deep into the heart of their lands. But first, we needed to cross the mountain pass. And Holden Cross would lead the charge. Valkenheim in Winter is the 4th chapter in the Night Story campaign. In this mission, players control the story character Holden Cross, the leader of the Blackstone Vanguard. He is played in this mission as a lawbringer. Accompanied by the warden and several soldiers, Cross heads toward Valkenheim. Events. As Holden Cross leads his army through the forest, he is ambushed by a small party of Vikings. They fight their way through the forest and reach the frozen lake. They had just begun to cross when a catapult shot hits the bridge, separating Cross from his men. Cross proceeds on his own and takes out the catapults. As Cross takes out the last siege weapon, he comes face to face with Thornfinn. Thornfinn proves challenging, but Cross bests him and continues, reaching the beachhead right in front of the fortress. They use ballistas to launch wood bridges into the fortress. Though many were destroyed, enough men including Cross make it across and open the drawbridge, letting the troops in. Transcript. Holden Cross, voiceover. The snow was already falling on Valkenheim. But we went anyway. Camera fades in on the path to Valkenheim. Blackstone troops are at the ready. Holden Cross and the warden make their way to the front. Cross directs the warden to take the left flank as he takes the front. Holden Cross, voiceover. I am Holden Cross. As commander of the Blackstone Legion Vanguard, it fell to me to lead the way. Mission objective, lead yours troops into Valkenheim. Cross leads his troops through the woods but are ambushed by a party of Vikings. They fight their way through the forest, but the fighting alerts Vikings in the whole region. They begin opening fire with their catapults. Mission objective, kill the catapult crews. Cross crosses a bridge to take out the catapults, but a shot takes out the bridge, separating the commander from his men. Cross proceeds to slaughter the catapult crew himself, though he is confronted by Thornfinn, who flings him onto the frozen lake. The icy lake cracks and begins to fracture, but Cross manages to kill Thornfinn and gets out of there. Mission objective: regroup with your army. Cross crosses the frozen tundra, killing the Vikings who stand in his way. The Blackstone Legion had set up a beachhead to assault the fortress. Mission objective: reach the courtyard. Several bridges had been set up to cross the moat. Cross launches another one and he storms across it. Though one of the bridges falls, enough men reach the other side. Mission objective: lower the drawbridge. Cross and his troops fight their way to the courtyard. Though many Vikings barred their path, he succeeded in reaching and lowering the drawbridge. Once it was down, Blackstone knights poured into the fortress with Apollyon at the front. Camera cuts to the drawbridge being lowered. The moment the bridge hits the ground, Blackstone soldiers begin pouring across. Apollyon slowly makes her way across the bridge with her lieutenants right behind her. Hold and cross, voiceover. We couldn't leave a force behind to guard the prisoners. Cut to the Blackstones inside the fortress with the Vikings prisoners at their mercy. They have a small line of prisoners in front of a makeshift chopping block. One of the Blackstones forces a Viking down to his knees and Cross proceeds to behead the prisoner. Apollyon watches the executions from a distance. She watches as a Viking raider is brought forth, a raider who would later be identified as Ragnar. They try to force Ragnar to his knees, but the Viking refuses. They needed mercy to strike his knees in order to bring him down. Cross prepares to behead him but is stopped. Apollyon, hold. Cross stands down. Apollyon walks up to Ragnar, who looks up in surprise. Hold and cross, master, this beast killed at least 40 soldiers, including Davis. Apollyon, to Cross, do you know to tell predator from prey? You can't, of course. Unless you see them in war. The Blackstone lieutenant holding Ragnar allows the Viking to stand. Apollyon walks up to the prisoner. Apollyon, to Ragnar, 40. Well done. The lieutenant hauls Ragnar away while Apollyon walks off. The camera fades out on Cross staring at his commander. Hold and cross, voiceover. I had thought her laws of selection only applied to us. Observables. Ancestors. As you go through the mountain pass, keep an eye on the right for a giant statue of a warlord. The Vikings are ancient, as we are. The difference is they vanished for centuries, we never left. But any who doubt their claim to these lands need only look at the ruins their ancestors built for them. Demons. As you go through the mountain, you will pass under a small bridge while fighting the Vikings. There is a totem on the left side. So many of my people fear the decorations of our savage foes, but I have never feared the demons of my enemies. I am their demon. Civilization. When you reach the bridge, take and follow the right path to some burned down houses. Wherever we go, the peaceful life that is called civilization scatters. It is a social agreement that is so easily dissolved, fragile. Knock knock. You will cross a bridge across a lake, which will trigger a cutscene where a catapult separates Cross from his men. The cutscene ends. Look to the right at the horn. The Vikings have filled their mountains and valleys with horns and drums and signal fires. We were never going to slip into Valkenheim unnoticed. That is why I chose to enter through the front door. The Cataclysm. As you cross the frozen lake, before you reach land, look to the right at the giant stone face. The Cataclysm was not one event, it was many. Lands rose and fell. The sky rained fire, ash, and worse things. The seas rose and then retreated. It is a miracle that any of us are still here. Apollyon. As you reach the beachhead, keep an eye to the left. Your commander, Apollyon, will be watching the battle as an observable. I am Apollyon. I was a warden once, now I have become something greater. I am the 8th warlord of the Blackstone Legion, the only one strong enough to survive, and through me, this land will see a new age. The raids. As you reach the beachhead, keep an eye to the right for a broken ballista. The Vikings have raided every year for as long as I can remember. They sack, loot, burn. My village was destroyed by them, mine and hundreds of others. Now, we would turn the tables. Technology. Once you're at the beachhead, go to the bridge on the far left. You can't cross it, but there is an observable in the center of it. Our technology is what separates us from the Vikings, and with these, we would make the so-called impassable defense of the gates of Valkenheim meaningless. Gates of Valkenheim. Once you're at the beachhead, head to the front and look at the drawbridge. Valkenheim, home of the invaders who call themselves Vikings. It had been 40 years ago that knights last crossed the threshold into that great valley. Whatever happened in there, we would certainly be remembered. As you cross the bridges into the fortress, look at the Viking statue to the left, more specifically the fire. The ancient kings of the Vikings were mighty. They sailed across the ocean, and when the seas froze, they were lost to history, and then, they came back. Media. Images. Article information. More for Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Ultimate Fandom NFL Draft, Joe Burrow as Captain America. Sabotage. Published by For Honor Wiki, fandom. Valkenheim. We needed to reach the fortress as Svengard before the Vikings had a chance to respond. But at the great cliff that splits the valley in half, we found our way forward blocked. Fortunately, we had a peacekeeper, Mercy, among our ranks. Sabotage is the 5th story of the Knights chapter of the campaign and follows Mercy as she infiltrates the Viking stronghold. There is only one way through the valley and it is blocked. Apollyon dispatches Mercy to clear the way. She sneaks into the forest to find a way to clear a path for the armies. If she wanted to clear the stronghold that barred their path, she would have to take it out entirely. She makes her way through the forest, eliminating the small bands of Vikings in her path, until she reaches the outpost. Mercy is rather impressed by the machinery used to build the elevator, but she had a job to do. She sabotages the machinery and activates it. As she jumps out the window, the machines tear the building apart and clear the passage. Mercy, voiceover, our army needed passage. The Warborn can be creative when they want to be. Camera zooms out from a Viking stronghold and Mercy's destination. Mission objective, reach the elevator outpost. In the dead of night, the peacekeeper, Mercy, makes her way through the forest to the outpost that controlled the elevator. With most of the Vikings asleep, the ones she encounters are in small groups that she easily takes out one by one. She continues through the forest unnoticed until she finally reaches the outpost. Mission objective, sabotage the mechanisms. Once inside the outpost, Mercy heads for the main building. She pulls back the gear mechanisms holding the counterweights up and inserts a shaft into the gears. Mission objective, activate the elevator. With everything in place, Mercy activates the elevator. Camera cuts to Mercy opening a chest full of equipment, pausing to plan out her strategy. Camera cuts to the outside of the building, where a Viking captain is patrolling on the balcony. He jumps back in surprise when he spots Mercy leap out the window, grab a rope, and slide to the bottom. Viking captain, Ovenoran, enemy. The captain looks over the railing but jumps back in shock when he turns and sees the chain holding the elevator tear through the building. The massive stone counterweights fall and the entire building collapses. Camera cuts to Blackstone encampment where several of the lieutenants, including Cross and the warden, sit around a campfire while Apollyon speaks to 2 captains. Mercy, path's clear. The warden, impressive. Cross, don't encourage her. Apollyon glances at Mercy. Her plan was coming together. Observables. Offerings. Progress through from the starting area until you reach the campfire, then look behind you to check out another big statue of a Viking. The Viking tribes all had different customs. These look to be warborn offerings, probably for strength in war. Fate of the scouting party. Move on from the statue a little bit and you'll find a dead body ahead, sat next to a tree just before the path turns leftward. Holden should have never sent those scouts ahead. He should have sent me first. Why didn't I say anything? Docks. Continue down the path, staying on the left side up till you find the ocean. Look at the 2 beached rowing boats for your 3rd observable. They docked their boats there, so there was a path to the top. I was sure of it. Hangings. Just above the rowing boats, a little to the left, is a man hanging from a tree. Soldiers cry and cringe and rage when they see their friends hang. Sometimes, I pretend to share in their grief. Other times, I just wish that I did. Disaster. Be sure not to miss the destroyed warship on the other side of the slope path from the hanged man. Look to the dragon head on the front end to get the observable. The volcano in Ashfeld gave Valkenheim 2 years of frozen rivers. We were there to take advantage of their disaster. History mystery. Keep following this trail till the next ladder. Climb up and sprint up the slope where, near the top end directly ahead, there'll be yet another giant head statue carved into the rock. Like us, most of the Vikings don't even know their own history. These are their ancestral lands, lost a millennium ago. They returned from across the sea and reclaimed them. Knock knock. After checking off the head, turn around and take the slightly hidden path to the left just as you're walking down the trail. You'll come across a closed gate on your right, which is an observable. There had to be a better way inside than the front door. I had my pride to consider. Meal to die for. Head to the objective marker and get yourself into the village. Look at the entrance to the main building, and that's your 8th observable. Vikings love to feast. Maybe I could find a way to shut them in. Ingenuity. Go inside the main building. You'll find this observable is also one of the main objectives itself, the machinery that your character is about to break. Their machinery was far beyond what I had expected to find. Since the last time I'd been through, they had uncovered a new source of lore, or perhaps just a very clever engineer. Job to do. Finally, move into the middle of this corridor and peek into the gap where a wall should normally be for the observable. The machinery was well made, but I had a job to do. Too bad really. This is the only mission in the game where Apollyon doesn't narrate the observables. Instead of her thoughts interlaced with history, it is Mercy's comments on her surroundings. Article information. More For Honor Wiki. Samsung PAX East Sizzle. Wolves among sheep. Published by For Honor Wiki, Fandom. The Fortress of Svengard. My goal. For too long the true warriors among the Vikings had been held back by the chains of social bonds. Of kin, of law. Now, we will knock down their gate and return their world to its natural order. Wolves Among Sheep is the sixth and final story of the Knights chapter of the campaign. Avantsev. A warden's oath is not easily broken, but the warden had been questioning Apollyon's ruthless campaign, but there was still a job to be done. It was time to lead a charge right through the front gates of Svengard. The warden protects the battering ram until it reaches the door and begins going to work. Gudmundur, the Jarl of the fort, tries to stop it but the warden holds him off long enough for the ram to demolish the door. The attack is underway and the warden makes way through the fort but is plagued by doubts. The warden confronts Gudmundur once more and slays him, but as she looks around, she stops to question the purpose of this attack. When Mercy reveals the true reason, the warden is disgusted and leaves the Blackstone Legion for good. In the aftermath of the battle, Apollyon has ordered most of the food destroyed but the rest of it saved for the Viking clans to fight over. Transcript. The camera cuts to the Blackstone army marching down the road to Svengard, soldiers pushing a massive battering ram to its door. The warden, voiceover, I had questions. Camera cuts to the warden walking up to Apollyon, who had just finished talking to Holden Cross about the upcoming attack. The warden, Master, why this fortress? It looks like it's just a storehouse. Apollyon, it is, and that's why we're here. Apollyon places her hand on the warden's shoulder and directs her to the side so they can talk in private. Apollyon, these barbarians. They seem like good people. They embrace each other like they were all kin. But that is all a lie. When night falls, they stab each other with their knives. If there are wolves among them, should we not set them free? The warden gives a nod and walks away. The warden, voiceover, now I had new questions. Ones that were much harder to answer. Camera cuts to the advancing army. But flaming rocks begin raining from the sky. The warden, catapults. Keep the ram moving. The warden, voiceover, being a skeptic was a death sentence. But doubt is a part of integrity. Mission objective, kill the enemies attacking the ram. The warden charges into battle, immediately taking on a raider nearby. They were too deep in enemy territory to retreat. It was do or die as they take on horde after horde of Vikings coming out to defend the fort. Mission objective, release the ram. The dead carpeted the ground and dyed the snow red. But the behemoth of a machine reaches its destination. The warden rushes up to the massive construct and activates it. The giant bird-headed ram begins doing its work, pounding against the gate. A spear flies out of the fort and lands on top of the ram, its tip penetrating the metal grate and jamming the gears beneath. The warden tries to restart the machine but it is stuck. A nearby soldier points out the spear at the top. The warden gives a gracious nod and climbs the ladder to free it. From within the fort, Gudmundur is helping the wounded get away from the front lines. But one of the soldiers near the edge of the balcony has clearly spotted something. He goes over and sees the warden yank the spear free. He couldn't stay off the battlefield. If that ram started again, it would be the end of everything. Gudmundur seizes his sword and shield and leaps over the railing, landing on the battering ram in front of the warden. He had to stop this here and now. The warden, voiceover, Gudmundur. This fort's legendary Jarl. Mission objective, defeat Gudmundur. The warden clashes with the legendary warrior. Whether it was for their people or for their master, neither could afford to lose. Several minutes of fighting but neither seemed to be making much headway. The warden had found herself with her back toward the gate as the ram hit the door once more. That final strike was all that was needed as the gate collapses onto the ram, destroying the front of the contraption and flipping the top panel and sending the warden tumbling down its front into the ground. After a few moments, the world fades to black. By the time the warden regains consciousness, the assault was already in full swing. Apollyon spots the dazed warden. Apollyon, pulling the warden to her feet, on your feet. Apollyon rushes to join the charge. The warden shakes off her dizziness. It was time to rejoin the fray. Mission objective, reach the inner gate. It wasn't the warden's first time sacking a fortress, and she took no issue with the notion of fighting the Vikings. But something about this attack bothered her as she made her way to the inner gate. A pair of Blackstone captains had met Gudmundur in battle. The Jarl uses his shield to bash one away, clearing enough space to put his fingers to his mouth and give a whistle. Upon command, wolves respond to their master's call, mauling one captain to death and distracting the other long enough for Gudmundur to kill him. He takes a moment to relish his victory but notices the warden standing before him. His wolves were at the ready and so was he. Gudmundur, prepare to die. Mission objective, defeat Gudmundur. Wolves were mere animals but they were still dangerous. Unable to fully engage Gudmundur, every time the two clashed swords, the wolves would rush to defend their master. The warden's only reprieve was how easily it was to kill the wolves as long as she remained vigilant. Gudmundur begins raining blows down upon the warden. Able to block every strike from above but unable to strike back, the warden rushes forth and tackles Gudmundur through the gate behind him. The Jarl gets ready to get back into the fight but the soldiers behind him hold him back, insisting he retreat. After a moment, he reluctantly agrees and withdraws. Mission objective, reach the central hall. With the door open, Blackstone forces poured through the gate. The entire outpost was in flames, the smoke billowing into the skies. This wasn't the first time the warden has seen this sort of carnage, but she had finally figured out what had been haunting him, her. The warden, voiceover, I was on the wrong side. The camera cuts to Gudmundur, who had fallen to his knees in silent despair, staring at the burning central hall. The warden sees the grieving warrior, even spotting the discarded sword on the ground. There was no honor in execution. The warden picks up the sword and slides it to Gudmundur, snapping the Jarl out of his trance. He gets to his feet, weapons in hand. He had only one task left. Mission objective, defeat Gudmundur. Gudmundur had nothing left to lose. His final act would be one of vengeance as he attacks the warden. But he is tired after this long and is defeated. An injured Gudmundur drops his shield and swings at the warden, but he falls to his knees in pain. His injuries were taking their toll. The warden, you fought well. Gudmundur, to hell with you. Gudmundur finally succumbs to his wounds and collapses lifelessly to the ground. With the fighting dying down, the warden takes a moment to look around, seeing nothing but burning buildings in all directions. She spots Mercy standing behind him, her. The warden, Mercy, why are we here? I think you know. Mercy, famine. This place houses their seed grain. There will be no new harvest. By winter, they will be killing each other over what little food is left. The warden takes out the Blackstone medallion, staring at the symbol. The warden, I took an oath to fight for peace. The warden holds up the medallion for Mercy to see before throwing it into the distance. The warden, so did you. All of you. The warden then storms off. The camera cuts to Apollyon, who is overseeing her knights gather all the food remaining into one location. Holden Cross walks up to the knights gathering the food. Cross, hey, this food, why are we not burning it all? Apollyon, what do you imagine the clans will do if we burn it all? Cross, they'd starve, die. Apollyon, they would unite. But leave them scraps just enough for 2, maybe 3 clans. They will fight each other over what remains. The wolves among them will rise. We're not here to kill them. We're here to teach them who they are. To set them free. Time to go home. Cross spots something in the snow and walks over and picks. It is the medallion the warden discarded. He, Stone, and Mercy all look onward at their commander as the screen fades to black. Observables. Trilithin. Forget about the ram for now. Get over to the far east side of the battlefield as soon as the level begins and make your way to the first observable, a giant rock covered in inscriptions. The ancient name for these structures is Trilithin. I asked a Viking once what she thought they were for. She didn't know, she said they'd just always been there. Human nature. Continue past the rock, staying slightly left until you reach a run-down tower, which can be ticked off as the second observable. The Vikings have always warred with themselves much more than with us. It is in their nature to feast on each other. That nature has been stolen from them. Svengard. From here, you can simply look over towards the front entrance, focus near the top of the Vikings' village for another observable. Svengard. The Vikings are so very careful to equitably distribute their food supplies. It all passes through Svengard, and in winter, most of it is stored there. Reinforcements. Move back onto the west side of the battlefield as you head towards the village to the area where new enemies are jumping into the combat zone. Check out this particular spawn point to nab the 4th observable. We knew at Svengard that within a day Viking ships would fill the harbor and their army would destroy us, but I intended to be long gone before that could happen. The ram. Once the ram has made it to the front gate, you can successfully observe its left side. We dragged our ram's machinery across Valkenheim. We had to hack down half a forest in a fortnight to build it, but without it, we would have come all that way just to be slain at the front gate. Planning ahead. After fighting the boss for the first time, you'll find yourself inside the village. Immediately look behind you at the battered door. We could have broken open that gate with a much smaller ram, but that would have taken time that the Vikings would have used to reinforce. End of an era. Opposite this door, in the center, will once again be Apollyon herself, who can be ticked off as an observable. I am Apollyon. I have come to instruct. For too long, the fearful prey among the Vikings have whispered their lies of peace. Now, that era ends. The harder they fall. Head forward on the left side and check out the large door. The fortress of Svengard was home to many of the wealthiest Viking clans. The merchant trades always produce such people. Now, they would have to fight for their food. Fall of Legends. Head towards the objective, but just before you enter the fighting arena, look towards the gate. The legendary Jarl, Gudmundur. In another time, he would have been a king, beloved by his people, the fiercest of warriors. Whoever faced him would either become another notch in that belt of his, or become legend. Survivors. The final observable will be the big house on fire, just a little up the path from the previous breakable. We would leave survivors to tell the tale of what had been lost at Svengard, and when they heard, they would come looking for what was left. Media. Images. Article information. More for Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Ultimate Fandom NFL Draft, J.K. Dobbins as Black Panther. Orochi. Meyer. Raider. Otto. Quinn. Conjured Dragon Priest. Sponge, Nina Menashe. The Secret World of Alex Mack. Silver Blood Family Ring. Story Campaign. Published by For Honor Wiki, Fandom. Campaign is a game mode in For Honor. Each faction has their own campaign missions. They can be played as a single player or in a two-player co-op. It is a story that will initially help players learn how to play the chosen class in For Honor, but its main purpose is to tell a tale of the greatest warriors among the Vikings, knights, and samurai. A tale of warring factions deep in a crucial moment of an age-old war where they battle not only their faction enemies but the army of the merciless and bloodthirsty warlord Apollyon. Players will find themselves storming castles and fortresses in their dire attempt to turn the tide of battle. They will confront deadly bosses in duels and become heroes of legend. Protagonist stories. The Warden story. The Warden is a courageous and talented young knight from the lands of the Iron Legion. Wardens are expected to be noble and brave, living embodiments of virtue, and this one has the potential to be that and more. But after years of fighting endless battles for no worthy cause, the Warden has begun wandering, seeking a purpose equal to his talents and genuinely worth fighting for. That search comes to end in Ashfeld, among the warriors of the Blackstone Legion. The Raider story. The Raider is a fearless but rage-filled warrior that is tired of watching their fellow Vikings spill one another's blood. Raiders, as a rule, can be bloodthirsty, and this one is certainly no exception, but they are also filled with an immense love and pride for their people. Whether by force, guile, or sheer determination, this fierce warrior intends to unite the warborn clans. And may the gods have mercy on whoever gets in their way. The Orochi story. The Orochi was a rapidly rising champion in the Emperor's service, but an unfortunate habit of speaking out of turn put an end to a promising career and sent the champion to languish in captivity. However, the Orochi's deep faithfulness and good spirit earned many loyal friends who are keen on seeing their friend's honor restored as soon as the small matter of springing the champion out of prison has been dealt with. Missions. Knights Chapter. Warlords and Cowards. Observables, 10, Breakables, 4. A warden from the west is hired to defend a warlord in his besieged castle. And stay out. Observables, 5, Breakables, 5. The warden is sent to help the Iron Legion push the attacking Vikings out of Harrogate Sanctuary. The Blackstone Legion. Observables, 9, Breakables, 5. The warden must clear out the remaining Vikings in Ashfeld. Valkenheim in winter. Observables, 10, Breakables, 3. Holden Cross, Apollyon's second-in-command, leads the charge to open the gate to Valkenheim. Sabotage. Observables, 10, Breakables, 5. Mercy, a member of the secretive peacekeepers, is tasked with clearing the army's way through a Viking outpost. Wolves among sheep. Observables, 10, Breakables, 5. The warden leads the siege of the Viking fort at Svengard. Vikings Chapter. Raiding the Raiders. Observables, 8, Breakables, 3. A raider comes down from the mountains, joins the Warborn clan, and attacks the village stronghold of the warlord Ragnar. Viking Diplomacy. Observables, 6, Breakables, 5. The raider fights to free enslaved Warborn from the deadly warlord Siv. Wood, Iron, and Steel. Observables, 5, Breakables, 5. Stygian Drive, the last Warborn Jarl, leads the assault to clear the knights from the Viking shipyards. Up the beach. Observables, 6, Breakables, 0. The raider leads the Warborn across the sea, launching the great raid against the samurai. Reconnaissance. Observables, 12, Breakables, 10. Runa, an impetuous Warborn Valkyrie, must fight her way through the mire in search of samurai maps. The Great Raid. Observables, 5, Breakables, 6. The raider brings the Great Raid to the samurai's imperial city. Samurai Chapter. Duty. Observables, 8, Breakables, 5. An Orochi, freed from prison, must push back against the Vikings who are sacking the imperial city. Thinning the herd. Observables, 5, Breakables, 5. Ayu, one of the 5 warlords to have passed Apollyon's test, is left alone in the mire to hunt down her enemies. Picking up the pieces. Observables, 6, Breakables, 5. Reunited with Ayu, the Orochi must rid the mire of the last of the marauding Vikings. Unity. Observables, 9, Breakables, 5. To defeat the warlord Seijiro, the Orochi must sneak into the imperial palace. Honor. Observables, 11, Breakables, 10. The Orochi and Momiji scout Ashfeld for the coming assault on the Blackstone fortress. Apollyon. Observables, 9, Breakables, 5. The Orochi leads the charge into the Blackstone fortress as Apollyon makes her final stand. References. Official description. Article information. More For Honor Wiki. 1 Warden. 2 Heroes. 3 Lawbringer. Ultimate Fandom NFL Draft.